To enter the command, user must know and remember all the commands as well as parameters. To find the area of a circle, what's the formula I'm going to have here? That is 3.142 into r square. Suppose if I want to know the relationship between two variables, I require relational operator. Hello to all, a heartily welcome to my new session on model question paper discussion. I am Revati, faculty from the Department of Computer Science, Vidhyaashram, Pre-University College, Temple of Excellence, Mysuru. In my today's session, I am going to deal with the part C. Before going to start my part C, let me to discuss the topic which I have covered in my previous session. In my previous session, I started with part B. That means what kind of questions we can able to expect under part B and what is the marks allotted for each question. So dear student, please make a note here. If I consider part B, I'm going to get 10 questions. Now, out of 10 questions, I want to answer only 5 questions and each question carries 2 marks. So, what's the weightage of part B? That is 10 marks. If I consider part A, once again 10 marks. If I consider part B, once again it is 10 marks. But in my today's session, I'm going to deal with part C. So, if I consider part C, each question carries 3 marks. Now, once again, under this section, I'm going to get 10 questions. Out of 10 questions, I want to answer only 5. So, it is left to the student. They can able to choose any question out of 10 and they want to answer only 5 questions and each question carries 3 marks. So, it is 5 into 3, 15. Now, this is the blueprint of part C. That means most of the questions are coming from all 17 chapters and each question carries only 3 marks. And I want to attend only 5 questions under this section. 5 into 3, it is 15 marks. Now, let me to solve this section one by one. That means let me to answer these questions one by one. So, at the beginning, I'm going to have the question like write a short note on hard disk. So, what's the question here? I want to write something about hard disk. What is hard disk? That is nothing but the example for secondary storage device. So, the first point here is example for secondary storage device. And it's mainly used to store the files as well as data. Suppose if I want to store the files and data, the most commonly used physical device here is hard disk. Now, you can include another point that it is made up of metal oxide. So, see the question here, it is only for 3 marks. At least write 5 or 6 points because each point carries half marks. So, the hard disk typically contains several rotation disk plates. That means here hard disks are made up of several disk plate and it is mainly used to store the data permanently. So hard disks are mainly used to store the data permanently. Now, it is capable to perform read and write operation. Along with that, include each head for each surface. That means there is one head for each surface and each head is responsible for performing read and write operation and head moves together. So heads are responsible for moving together. Along with that, write the rotation speed. So what is the rotation speed here? It is 7200 RMP. That is rotation per minute. So here what is RMP? That is nothing but rotation per minute. Now, what is the capacity of hard disk? That is 260 GB to 1000 GB. And the surface of plate is organized into tracks. So each surface are organized in the form of tracks and each tracks are divided into number of sectors. Set of matched tracks are called cylinder. So these many topics I want to write if I want to get 3 marks. So at least I want to write 6 points. So what are the 6 points I can able to write here? Example for secondary storage, and it is made up of metallic oxide. Then it performs read and write operation and it is mainly used to store the data, and each one had head and include the disk rotates at around 7200 RMP. Along with that, specify the size of disk, that is 260 GB to 1000 GB or 1000 TB. Then each disk is divided into number of tracks. Once again, the number of tracks are further divided into sectors. These much points I want to write if I want to get 3 marks. Moving further, I am going to have the next question, that is convert 89. So this is my decimal number and I want to convert this decimal number to binary and to octal. So each conversion carries 1.5 and 1.5 marks. Now see, this is my decimal number and I want to convert that to binary. So they have mentioned convert this number to binary. So binary means what? It is only zeros and ones. So what I am going to do? I am going to divide this number by 2. So it is 2 4s are 8, then 1 remainder. Once again I am going to divide this 44 by 2. 2 2s are 4, 2 2s are 4, remainder is 0. Once again I am going to divide 22 by 2, that is 2 11s are 22, remainder is 0. Now I am having 11. Now I want to divide 11 by 2. So 2 5s are 10, then 1 is remainder. Now 2 2s are 4, 1 is remainder. Now 2 1s are 2, remainder is 0, and while writing I want to start from bottom to up. So I'll write 1 0 1 1 0 0 1. This is the way I can able to convert decimal number to binary. Now let me to consider another conversion, that is decimal to octal. Now I'm having decimal number. Now I want to convert this decimal number to octal. So what I'm going to do? I'm going to divide that number by 8. So 8 ones are 8. What about remainder? Remainder is 1. So once again, I'm going to divide 11 by 8. So 8 ones are 8. What about remainder? Remainder is 3. Then I'm going to write 1, 3, 1. That is from bottom to up. I'm going to write 1, 3, 1 and I want to write the base. So it is 8. So the conversion is, that is decimal to octal conversion is this one. That is 89 is converted into 131. Now let me to consider another question here, that is compare CUI and GUI. So I want to write the comparison between CUI as well as GUI. Now see here, what's the first difference here? CUI, that is nothing but command line user interface. Then what about GUI? That is nothing but the graphical user interface. Then what is the next difference here is the user must type the command. As the name itself indicates that it is command line user interface. For that reason, manually the user want to type the command. Where? In the command prompt. Now, if I consider GUI, as the name itself indicates that it is graphical user interface. So here, users are going to get beautiful and attractive working environment, that is in the form of icons, menus, dialog box, etc. And if user want to interact with the computer system, then they want to click the icons or menus or dialog box. So this is the second difference. Now let me to discuss the third difference here, that is the user must remember all the commands. So as the name itself indicates that users are responsible for typing or entering the command. To enter the command, user must know and remember all the commands as well as parameters. But if I consider graphical user interface, the user need not remember any commands, because here we are going to have the icons, folders as well as dialog box, and where all these things are present, it's on the monitor. Now, what is the job of the user? Just click the icons or just click the menus or just open the dialog box, etc. Now, if I consider command line user interface, mouse operation not available. So here, user cannot able to use the mouse to operate. Manually, users are responsible for entering the commands. So they no need to use the mouse. But if I consider graphical user interface, I required some pointing device. So mouse operations are used or required to select the commands. So what is command here? That is nothing but icons or menus as well as dialog box. So if you want to get 3 marks, then I want to write all 4 difference. Now let me to consider another question here. Write an algorithm to find area of a circle. So I want to write the algorithm here. Before going to write the algorithm, let me to write the formula for finding area of a circle. So what is the formula for area of a circle? That is 3.142 r square. Now then what is the formula for circumferences? That is 2 into 3.142 into R. Now, I want to write the algorithm. So, at the beginning, I want to write the start. That means I want to indicate that my first step is start. After that, I'm going to read the radius. So here in my second step, I'm going to write input R. So what is R? That is nothing but the radius. Now in my third step, I'm going to find the area of a circle. To find the area of a circle, what's the formula I'm going to have here? That is 3.142 into R square. I cannot write R square. So what I will do? 3.142 into R into R. So I'm going to write 2 times R. Now, in my step 4, I'm going to find the circumferences. What is the formula to find the circumferences? That is 2 into 3.142 into 6. Now, in my step 5, what I'm going to do? I'm going to print or I'm going to display area as well as circumferences. Then in my last step, I'm going to stop. So what is algorithm? It is nothing but the finite number of sequence. That means it is nothing but the step-by-step finite number of instruction. So here I'm going to write the step-by-step finite number of instruction. So if I write this much steps, then I can very easily get 3 marks. So this is the question for only 3 marks. So what is the question? Write an algorithm to find area of a circle. First, write the formula. Now, after writing formula, see here. 3.14, this is the fixed value. But what I required here? I required only radius. How I'm going to get the radius? From the keyboard. So I want to read the radius. This is the way you want to think, you want to understand and write the algorithm. Moving further, let me to consider another question here. Explain relational operators in C++. I repeat, explain relational operators in C++. So what is relational operator? Suppose if I want to know the relationship between two variables, I require relational operator. So here relational operator is used to compare two operands given in expression. So it is mainly used to compare two variable, or it's also called operands in the given expression. Now, they define the relationship that exists between two constants. It's mainly used to compare or check the relationship between two constants. For example, think that I'm going to have 30 and 20. Now I want to check if 30 equal to 20. So there are two possibilities. One is true and one is false. If both are equal, then it is true. If both are not equal, then it is false. So here relational operators are mainly used to check the relationship between two variables or two operands. And some of the example for relational operators are greater than or equal, less than or equal, comparison and not equal. And where I'm going to write all those relational operators in my if condition. If A greater than B, or A greater than or equal to B, or if A not equal to B. When I write like this, I'm going to get two possibilities, that is true as well as false. Moving further, let me to consider another question here. That is, what is cascading of input and output? Explain with example for each. First, I want to define what is cascading of input and output. If I consider C++ programming language, I can able to read one input or multiple input at a time. Similarly, I can able to display one output or more than one output at a time. Suppose if it is possible to display or read multiple inputs or outputs, then it is called cascading of input as well as output. So, if I want to perform cascading of input, then I'm going to have the extractor operator, and I'm going to specify the variable name, one more extraction operator, and I'm going to write the variable. So, this is nothing but the extraction operator. Now, if I want to output multiple values, then I'm going to have insertion operator. See here, how many variables I'm having here? 2. When I'm having multiple variables, then it is called cascading. Now, let me to write the simple example here. That is, enter 2 number. Now see, this is the example for cascading input. So, C in, then use extraction operator A, extraction operator B. Now, if I want to display multiple output together, then output cascading. Then here, which operator? Insertion operator. Display the message, along with that display the output. So here sum as well as and L. Even I can write A. This is also example for cascading output. And if I write this much, then I'm going to get complete 3 marks. Now, let me to take another question here, that is, what are jumping statement? Listen here. First, what are jumping statement? So, this one carries 1 mark. Explain break statement with an example. So, this one carries 2 mark. First, I want to define what is jumping. That means, what is jump statement? That means I want to jump from one block of code from that another block of code. So, jump statement causes an unconditional jump. So, there is no condition. Directly I am going to jump. That is called unconditional jump to another statement. Else, where in the code, break statement. So, jump statement is nothing but it's an unconditional jump, and I'm going to jump from one statement to another statement. So, here you can use the terminate a case in the switch statement. That means here I'm going to have break statement. So, if I consider jump statement, what are the example I'm having? Break, exits, continue, etc. These are the example for unconditional jump. So, first I want to define what is jump statement, and I want to explain break statement with the help or with an example. So, what is break and where we can able to use break? This break can be used in my switch statement. Along with that, I can able to use in my for or any looping statement. So, I have taken this example here that, see, I starts from 0 or n starts from 0 and I want to continue this block 100 times. And inside this, I am going to display n value. Now think that during the middle of the execution, I want to exit or I want to switch from this block to another statement. In that time, I am going to use break statement. That means I want to quit or I want to exit from this for loop. When I want to exit, here I am going to write the condition. That means till 0 to 9, I want to execute for loop. And when I becomes 10, then I want to exit from this for loop. This is the way I can able to use break statement in my program. Now, let me to take another question here, that is, give the declaration syntax and example for one-dimensional array. First, what I want to do, I want to write the syntax for one-dimensional array. Then I want to write the example. This one carries 1 mark. That means write the syntax carries 1 mark and example carries 2 marks. Now, at the beginning, what I'm going to do, I'm going to write the syntax. So, at the beginning, I'm going to have the data type. Then, I'm going to have the array name. Along with that, I'm going to write the size of the array. Now, let me to consider this example. See, here int is nothing but my data type and this register number is nothing but array name and here 10 is nothing but the size. After writing this example, write at least 1 line about this example. So here int is nothing but the data type and register number is nothing but the name of the array and 10 is nothing but the size of the array. If you write this much, then you can able to get 3 marks. So 1 mark for your syntax and 2 marks for your example. Now let me to consider another example here. Explain any 3 options of the formatting toolbar in word processing. See the question here. I want to mention any 3 options of the formatting toolbar in word processor, and this question is only for 3 marks. So I want to mention only 3 options. So I want to write only 3 options. So see, I'm going to have the options like, that is options available in the formatting toolbar. Change the font. Suppose if I want to change the style of the font, then I'm having change the font, that is font style. Then if I want to change the size of the font, so these are the example for formatting toolbar. Now if I want to change the color of the font, now make the text bold or italic or underline. Suppose if I want to make the text bold, italic or underline, then change the alignment, or if I want to change the alignment, then I'm going to have the change the alignment. See, what is the need of formatting toolbar? I want to format my text or I want to format my document. And what are the formatting options? See, I have listed here 5. But according to the question, you want to mention only 3. Now, let me to consider the last question under part C is explain the use of any three mathematical function with suitable example in electronic spreadsheet. Now, I want to explain any three mathematical function with the help of example. And where all these mathematical functions are present, that is in my Excel or spreadsheet or electronic spreadsheet. And each mathematical function carries one marks. So here, sum. What is my first mathematical function? It is sum. Suppose if I want to add the values or add the cell element, then I'm going to use the function called sum. So dear student, let me to write the example here. First I'll write equal symbol, then write the mathematical function name, that is sum. Now specify the range. For example, I'll write C colon to F colon. Now average. So what is average? Returns the average of its arguments. So if I write equal to ARG, then that is you want to write complete average. Write complete average here and write the range. Okay, now it is going to display the average of the argument. And if I write count, so what is count here? Count how many values are in the list of argument. Now I want to count how many arguments are present in the list. For example, if I consider this range, that is C2 colon to F2. So after C2, I'm going to have D2, and after that, I'm going to have E2, and I'm going to have F2. So what is the answer for count? That is 4. So how I'm going to write the mathematical function, that is count of C2 colon to F2, and it's going to return the value 4. So the 4 arguments are present in the given list, and each mathematical function carries one marks, so it is 3 marks. So dear student, this is all about part C questions as well as answer. And to get 15 marks under this part C, it is very easy. So dear student, I hope in my today's session you got more information about how to answer the questions under part C. Now dear student, don't forget to watch my next session, because in my next session I'm going to deal with part D. So dear student, let's meet in the part D session. Until that, keep watching and keep learning. Thank you.